I don't know when the shift happened, but somewhere between the ages of like 5 to 15, people stopped having conversations the same way. And I think this is what has fucked me up because I haven't made the shift myself. Let me give a demonstration. Okay, so someone asks me, how was your weekend? And I say, oh, like Steam was having a sale this weekend to buy video games, and I got a lot of the ones that I wanted on sale, and I'm super happy to start playing them. If I say something like that, people will typically look at me and say like, oh, that's really great for you. Like, you're not gonna follow up with anything? Like, if someone asks me, even if it's not video games, if someone's like, oh, you know, I bought some lip gloss from Sephora this weekend and I'm super happy about that, I would say, what brands did you buy? Like, what would you recommend for me the next time I go there? If you ask follow-up questions on what someone has told you, or if you tell them like an interesting fact about yourself, no one wants to know. Nobody wants to know anything about you. So then they're just like, you know, if you ask any follow-up questions on what they're saying, they're never gonna answer you. And I'm just like, how do you make friends? How do you make friends past the age of 15? Because honestly, I can't talk to anybody, so.
What's going on, my friends? You already know this is yet another episode of Real English Radio. I'm your host, Tony Kaizen. And the topic of today's episode is friendship and the difficulty that so many of us experience when trying to make friends as an adult after we leave high school or college or once we start working. How does one make friends in the modern world? That is the question and the topic of today's episode. Now, before we get into it, as always, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the clip and break it down bit by bit just to make sure you understand everything that was said and we can be on the same page. All right, my friend. So let's do it.
I don't know when the shift happened, but somewhere between the ages of like 5 to 15, people stopped having conversations the same way.
Okay, so I don't know when the shift happened, but somewhere between the ages of 5 to 15, blah, blah, blah. Now, the shift, in this case, the word shift is a noun. In some cases, it's a verb, but right now it's a noun, and it just means a change. That's the simplest way I can explain it. A shift in behavior is a change in behavior. A shift in your mindset is a change in your mindset. Something has changed. Now, when we say shift, like if I say, shift your body to the left, I'm basically saying move it a little bit to the left. I want you to change positions from where you are now to a little bit to the left. You get what I'm saying, right? So that's a shift. Now, in this case, she's saying, I don't know when this change happened. And she's talking about the change in the way people communicate. And we're about to see that in just a second. So let's check it out.
I don't know when the shift happened, but somewhere between the ages of like 5 to 15, people stopped having conversations the same way. And I think this is what has fucked me up because I haven't made the shift myself. Let me give a demonstration.
All right, two things. The first one is the phrase fucked me up. Because if you just read this or you hear somebody say it out of context, it might not make sense. And honestly, the phrase fucked me up has multiple meanings depending on the context. But just so you don't get confused, we'll focus on one. We'll focus on this context right here. So when she says, people stopped having conversations the same way. And I think this is what has fucked me up because blah, blah, blah. When she says that, what she's saying is this is what has confused me. This is what has me feeling some type of way, most likely not some type of good way. You know, if this thing fucked me up, it has me feeling like, damn, like what? It makes you want to say, or it makes you think like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Anything that makes you feel like that, it fucks you up. It messes with you. It confuses you or makes you feel strange, makes you feel some type of way. And so just in case it's not clear, I'll try to summarize. When she says it fucked me up, she's talking about the change in communication style. Because apparently the way that we used to communicate when we were like 5 or 6 or 7 years old, she is suggesting that she still communicates more or less in that way. And we'll get more into that in just a second. And so she's saying as an adult, she's realizing a lot of people don't communicate in the same way. And that fucks her up. That has her feeling confused and kind of strange and like, what the fuck is going on? It's perplexing. You see what I'm saying? And then she says, let me give you a demonstration. Now, just in case you don't know, a demonstration is just an example that illustrates whatever you're talking about or how something works or what it is you really mean. So when she says, let me give you a demonstration, it's the same thing as saying, let me give you an example, but it's a bit more specific in the sense that I'm going to show you what I'm talking about and not just explain with my words.
5 to 15, people stop having conversations the same way. And I think this is what has fucked me up because I haven't made the shift myself. Let me give a demonstration. Okay, so someone asks me, how was your weekend? And I say, oh, like Steam was having a sale this weekend to buy video games, and I got a lot of the ones that I wanted on sale, and I'm super happy to start playing them.
Okay, what I'm going to explain here is the word sale and the phrase on sale. So she's giving an example. Someone asks her, how was your weekend? A very common thing to say when making small talk. And she says, oh, like Steam, which I'm guessing is a video game company or something like that. I honestly don't know. But Steam was having a sale this weekend. So to have a sale or a sale, the word sale in this case is a noun. And it just refers to that time when a store or a company or a business or whatever is offering products at a discounted or a reduced price. So Walmart is having a sale. Louis Vuitton is having a sale. Nike is having a sale. Pick a brand. They might have a sale selling products at discounted prices. And then she goes on to say, I got a lot of the games that I wanted on sale. So a store or a company can have a sale, but a product can be on sale. And if it's on sale, it just means available for purchase at a discounted price. So they're very similar. We just say them in different ways. And I think that was it. Stream having a sale this weekend. I want it on sale. I'm super happy. Yeah, that's it. So let me go back a few seconds.
Oh, like Steam was having a sale this weekend to buy video games, and I got a lot of the ones that I wanted on sale, and I'm super happy to start playing them. If I say something like that, people will typically look at me and say like, oh, that's really great for you. Like, you're not gonna follow up with anything?
You're not gonna follow up with anything, motherfucker. So follow up with something. That's what I want to explain. Again, she's giving us a demonstration of some kind of dialogue that she's experienced in the past. And she's saying, oh, I got these games on sale. I'm super happy to start playing them. And if she says something like that, people will typically or usually or normally look at her and say something like, wow, that's so good for you. Oh, great. And nothing more. And so she's thinking to herself, like, you're not going to ask me anything else. You're not going to follow up with something. So to follow up basically means to continue down a particular line of questioning or keep asking questions about the same topic. So you ask what she did this weekend. She tells you she's excited about the video games that she bought. And you don't ask anything else about that. Even though she's clearly excited about this, she wants to tell you more. She's engaged, but you're not asking anything more. You don't want to know more about what she just said. You're not interested in following up. And you'll also hear somebody say, follow-up question, which is a noun. A follow-up question is just a question that you've asked after the initial question. So you ask question number 1, you get a response. But in that response, there's details that could be explored. We could go deeper into multiple things that this person has said. And so if you ask more about what they just said, you have now followed up with something else. You have now asked a follow-up question. You see what I'm saying? And so to summarize, she's like, I'm talking to people, expressing myself, sharing myself with them, and it seems like they're not really interested. I tell them things, they don't follow up. They don't want to know more. Like, what the fuck is going on? It has her feeling fucked up. It fucks her up. It confuses her. It perplexes her, right? All right, let's continue.
Look at me and say like, oh, that's really great for you. Like, you're not gonna follow up with anything? Like, if someone asks me, even if it's not video games, if someone's just like, oh, I bought some lip gloss from Sephora this weekend and I'm super happy about that, I would say, what brands did you buy? Like, what would you recommend for me the next time I go there? If you ask follow-up questions on what someone has told you, or if you tell them like an interesting fact about yourself, no one wants to know.
Nobody wants to know. That's some depressing shit, isn't it? So she's continuing with her example, right? She says, even if someone, or she's giving us another example, I meant to say. So she says, even if it's not video games, even if you're talking about something else, if somebody says, oh, I bought some lip gloss, which is similar to lipstick, except it makes your lips look glossy or shiny. I believe that's the only difference, but maybe one of you guys can educate me on that. I don't know. And Sephora, Sephora, is the name of a popular store in the States. I don't know if they have this brand or store in other countries, but I guess you can buy lots of cosmetic products from there for your hair, nails, makeup, that type of stuff. So somebody says, "Oh, I bought lip gloss from Sephora this weekend and I'm super happy about that." She would say, "Oh, what brands did you buy?" And that is a perfect example of a follow-up question. So somebody shares something with her and she responds with a question wanting to know more about what was just said. She follows up. Hopefully you're getting the idea of what this really means now. So she follows up with saying, "What brands did you buy?" Just an example. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, you should, well, I shouldn't say should, but hopefully you see this as an example of the phrase, "Tell me more about that." One of my favorite phrases. Talk about it all the time on this podcast. It's a very simple way to get people to keep talking and sharing themselves with you. Keep a conversation going. It's so simple. "Oh, I bought some lip gloss and some lipstick and some foundation or whatever." And you say, "Oh, what brands did you buy? How much did you pay? What brands could you recommend? Where did you go?" There's so many simple questions that will keep somebody talking and talking and talking. And you don't know where the conversation is going to lead after that. But if you don't follow up with anything, it's certainly not going to lead anywhere. I believe that's the point here. All right. So let's continue.
Go there. If you ask follow-up questions on what someone has told you, or if you tell them like an interesting fact about yourself, no one wants to know. Nobody wants to know anything about you. So then they're just like, if you ask any follow-up questions on what they're saying, they're never gonna answer you. And I'm just like, how do you make friends? How do you make friends past the age of 15? Because honestly, I can't talk to anybody, so.
All right, my friends. Now I'm going to leave timestamps in the description of this episode. So now that I've explained everything, if you want to go back to the beginning of the clip and listen to it uninterrupted or with no pauses or interruptions, then you can do that. Just check the description for what time each section of this episode starts. But now I'm just going to give you my thoughts and leave you with something to think about. Now, the girl in this clip mentioned that between the ages of 5 and 15, many of us start communicating in a different way. And I think that's at least in part because most of us mature as we age. We learn that not everything that happens is the most interesting or exciting thing in the world. We learn that the world doesn't revolve around us. And we learn that the world can be quite cold and judgmental. So we often feel the social pressure to be normal. We want to fit in, be accepted, and avoid looking silly in front of others. And it's funny because one of the things we appreciate most about kids is that they have no ego. Most of them are open, curious, honest, and sociable. Have you ever noticed that as a kid, it was a totally normal thing for you to approach another kid whom you had never met before and say something like, "Hey, my name's Tony. You want to be friends?" And then you and that kid will go on to play for hours and possibly be friends for years to come. But if an adult, whom you had never met before, approached you and said the same thing, you'd probably say something like, "The fuck? First of all, who are you, bro?" And we've learned through experience that it can be dangerous to be so open and friendly with everyone you meet. We also lose a lot of that childlike curiosity through years of schooling and social conformity, and we become serious adults who take life seriously. And although instinctually putting one's guard up is understandable and totally normal, I still think it's one of the reasons that a lot of conversations tend to be superficial. And a lot of friendships never develop. We fear rejection. We fear opening ourselves up because there's a possibility that people will think we're weird or boring or whatever. And sometimes we fear accepting someone and then regretting it later, accepting someone and then realizing they're bad for us, that they can't be trusted, they betray us, or whatever it may be. And I also think that people grossly underestimate just how important curiosity is. And this is what I talked about in episodes number 76 and number 80. Looping for understanding, asking deeper questions, saying things like, "Tell me more about that." This is how you make a superficial conversation more interesting. And I think a lot of people don't do this because they think, perhaps unconsciously, that they should only talk about things that they find interesting. And there might be a very particular reason that this mentality is so prevalent these days, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. The point is, you've got to start utilizing follow up questions if you want conversations to go anywhere. For example, just the other day, I was talking to a classmate about his plans for the weekend, and he said he was going to some drag racing event. He's into cars, bikes, machines, anything with a motor. He loves that shit. He loves going to races. He makes YouTube videos about it, all that. It's his lifestyle for real. And so he starts talking about different cars and how they modify engines and how these motors work and different parts and different models and years and all this stuff. And I don't understand shit. I don't know anything about cars. All I know is a Porsche 911 turbo, black on black, is clean as fuck. That's all I know. I'm not a car guy. But even though I'm not a car guy, we probably talked for like a good 25 minutes about nothing but cars and drag racing, simply because I could tell he was passionate about that shit. I could tell he really wanted to tell me what he knew. He wanted to share his knowledge and his experiences. So I just sat there and listened, just asking follow-up question after follow-up question after follow-up question. Oh, so how does this motor work? Oh, why is this model better than that one? How much does that cost? What's your favorite brand? Why do you like that one? How'd you get into racing? How much are the drag races? Like, how much do you pay to get in? What happens there? Why'd you start making YouTube videos? There's so many questions you could ask when somebody's talking about something they're genuinely interested in, which is why I often suggest that you learn how to talk about things that other people are interested in and not just what you're interested in. Because again, I don't know shit about cars, but now every time I see him, I can get him to talk for fucking 45 minutes straight just about cars because I know how to listen. We talked in a recent episode about different kinds of communicators, right? I know how to maintain a conversation. And if you can learn how to do that, you will have much longer, more interesting conversations, bro. I'm not telling you this because it sounds good. I'm telling you this because I do it all the time and it works. And there's nothing special about me. It's not something that you are incapable of doing. You can do it too. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So it's just an example. It's just an example of how asking simple follow-up questions, even when you know nothing about the topic, just being curious, gets people to share so much more than you could imagine, bro. So much more than you can imagine. And you might realize, like, when you talk to a great conversationalist, a great communicator, you might realize that they do this to you. There are just certain people that make you want to talk more, that you love talking to. You might not even know why, but if you stop and analyze your relationships and the conversations you've had, your greatest interactions, you might realize that people are doing shit like this. Very simple, seemingly unimportant things or gestures or phrases or questions in a conversation that just keep it rolling. So it's just something to think about. And another thing, getting back to my notes here, another thing is that it's important to remember that no matter how good you get at communicating with people, you will always come across people that are so different culturally or personality wise that you just won't be able to connect with them on a deeper level. You won't be able to or even want to make conversation with them. That is totally normal. And when it comes to making friends, I think that it's better to let your vibe attract your tribe, at the risk of sounding cliche. And the phrase, let your vibe attract your tribe, basically means let your energy or your personality or your natural way of being attract the people who are supposed to be in your life. You see what I'm saying? It's like if you're naturally introverted and you have a hard time dealing with extroverted people, it doesn't mean that you need to pretend to be extroverted in order to be accepted by everyone and make friends. You should just be yourself, and people who identify with your way of being, your personality, your energy, your vibe, will naturally want to hang out with you. So let your vibe attract your tribe. And the word tribe is basically your community, your family, your kin, your loved ones. Yeah, the people in your community. A tribe of people is a small community of people. Even if they're not related by blood, they treat each other as family. They're a community, right? So that's what I mean when I say let your vibe attract your tribe. Just be yourself, and the people who identify with you will naturally be attracted to you. However, that does not mean that we don't have to work on ourselves. It doesn't mean that we should go through life thinking we're perfect and that anyone who doesn't excite or fascinate us immediately is boring and needs to change. We still need to develop our communication skills, our personal interests, emotional stability, and open mindedness if we're going to have a chance of meeting and making new friends. This is what I believe. So, where do we go from here? Well, in the next episode, we'll be talking about why and how so many of us have become so uninterested and thus uninteresting. I'll be sharing some fascinating insight that will completely change the way you think about people and the conversations you have with them. So if you want access to that episode, consider subscribing to Real English Radio on Patreon. The link will be in the description.